everybody. My name is Christie Mason, and I'm a student at the University of South Alabama. I've been a student of Dr. John Strange in EDM 310 this summer, and this is my final reflection. As you can see, I'm out here poolside because even though I have a pool, I haven't been able to spend much time out here this summer because I've been inside working on my computer with blogging and podcast and C4Ts and C4Cs. So Dr. Strange, this one's for you. I'm reflecting and telling you what I've learned. First of all, when the summer semester began, Dr. Strange gave us an assignment to teach us the importance of time management. Well, I could go ahead and put a check on that one because I'm super organized, and that's not really an issue for me, but it really comes in handy when taking EDM 310. You have to stay on top of things. Dr. Strange also had us watch videos and podcasts like the one about Mr. Winkle waking up after 1,000 years and everything was the same in the schools, but it had changed everywhere else. So I could kind of see the direction Dr. Strange was going to be taking us with this class. He wanted to give us a new perspective on classroom teaching, which was technology. One way that this really hit home with me was by watching inspiring teachers like the Skype video with Miss Cassidy from Canada. She was amazing. She taught first graders through, I believe, third graders to use blogging in their everyday activities. She did a Skype interview with some of Dr. Strange's previous EDM 310 students, and it really hit home and helped me see how an actual teacher uses blogging in her classroom. Another teacher that I really enjoyed reading about and watching a podcast on was Brian Crosby. Brian Crosby did a wonderful job with his students who were ESL, English as a Second Language students, who were on lower levels, bringing blogging into the classroom, and it helped these students get excited, get motivated, and sharpen their skills and come together and learn a lot. He was even able to include a child with leukemia who was homebound in their classroom by Skyping her in every day, which I thought was just really above and beyond. Finally, another teacher that I found extremely inspirational was Dr. Randy Posh, who passed away. He gave his last lecture, and Dr. Strange assigned us to watch that and reflect on it. No one can watch Dr. Posh's last lecture and not be moved and motivated to do something extraordinary with their life, whether you're an education major or not. Another thing we learned to do was C4Ts, which I referred to earlier, comments for teachers. One teacher I had to respond to was John Spencer. I really liked Mr. Spencer because he taught us to respect your students, get down on their level, and lead by example. And your students will in turn respect you, and that gives you so much more feedback with your students. It makes it more personable, and I think you have a better outcome with your teaching when you're on a personable level with them. Michael Fawcett in New Zealand is another teacher who I was assigned a C4T assignment for, and Mr. Fawcett and I had actually been tweeting back and forth on Twitter before I even received him as a C4T assignment. I liked his assignment because he had a student who was so motivated about blogging that he had done an activity. Mr. Fawcett asked him, "How did your activity go?" And he said, "I'll make a doc for you." So he had learned to use Google Docs. I mean, that's just so cool. We also had some group work to do, and I would like to say shout out to Mary, Angel, and Angelia. We had the best group ever. We all worked so well together. We did a podcast, and it was on the book Teach Like Your Hair is on Fire, and we did like a talk show setting that was super fun. So we learned how to do a podcast and edit and upload that. And then we also did a smartboard presentation on a reading assignment, and ours was on the Berenstain Bears. And we had so much fun putting our smartboard slides together and presenting that lesson. Individually, we all every week had to do some things, and I'm just going to hit on some of the things reflect on what I know I'm going to use, what I really could not believe I learned to do in such a short amount of time. Number one is blogging. Now that we're done with our EDM 310 class blog, I immediately plan to create another personal blog, and I'm going to continue to record my educational progress. And then when I start my own class, I want to use blogging and have my students create blog assignments. Hold on just a second. And then I also want to have my own personal parent blog so that as a teacher I can communicate with parents. Things going on in the school, things that we're teaching in the classroom, and I think that's a wonderful way to communicate. It keeps them engaged and they know what's going on with their children. Podcast. I want to use podcast. This is something that I never ever thought I would use in a classroom. I couldn't even imagine how I would do it. But after watching one assignment, flipping the classroom, this is another thing in addition to blogging that I want to walk into day one as a new teacher doing. When you flip the classroom, you record some of your lessons, some of your discussions, and you post those on your blog. Well, that way, students that need extra help or extra review, they can go and watch those podcasts. And as a teacher, you can upload the podcast early, have the students review them before you even teach the lesson, and that way they've already heard it once. When they hear it again, it soaks in better. So that is something I'll totally be using, and it's super easy to do. Really cheap, too. This is so good. I've been missing out on so much this summer. Another thing is Prezi. That is a really neat and interesting way to make presentations more fun, and it's just kind of a lot more interesting than the run-of-the-mill PowerPoint slide. So I can even see having my kids get together and do group projects and form a Prezi of their own. If I can do it, you can do it. Google Docs, Gmail, those are all things I did not use before that I know I'll be using. Twitter, I have learned, is not just something that Kris Jenner and Betty White use. Twitter is something that has turned into, in the teaching community, something of a virtual, class, a virtual teacher's lounge where you can support each other and give each other ideas. So I plan to continue to tweet, and one day I hope to do an iBook with my students. That was one of my favorite lessons we did this summer in EDM 310. So in closing, all of this has given me a vision for the kind of teacher I want to be. I thought I had it all figured out, but now I've totally changed. I don't want to just talk at my students. I want to put tools in their hands. I want to get engaged, and I want to give them the tools to help them and get in there and help them learn together to learn. Several of my blogs had reference to the Wizard of Oz, so I have 3 final points. Number 1. When you approach EDM 310 and all of these things are overwhelming, you don't know anything about them, you kind of have to think about it like the Cowardly Lion. He knew he needed something at the end of that yellow brick road and behind the curtain, but he was afraid to go. You have to have the courage to move forward. Number 2, everyone needs their own fairy godmother, somebody that's kind and believes in them and encourages them. This semester, my personal fairy godmother was Miss Carly Bug, the teacher assistant. I love Carly, don't know what I would do without her. And Carly taught me a valuable lesson as a student that I hope to convey to my students one day. Students need to have confidence, and they need to know that they have the power, they have that strength and courage and ability in them. They just have to be able to believe in themselves to bring it out, and that's what you did for me, Carly, so thank you. I appreciate it. And in closing, I could not have reflected without one last major shout out to my main man, Dr. Strange. Dr. Strange, you've been my man, my wizard behind the curtain. You've taught us that when you pulled that curtain back at the end, it really wasn't a wizard, it was just a man that knew how to operate a whole bunch of fancy gadgets. Things aren't always what they seem, but sometimes they turn out to be even better. And that's what you've taught me this summer in EDM 310, and I'll never forget you, the class, the teachers, assistants, what I've learned, and I really, really appreciate it. It's been a great experience. So, guys, I'm just going to kick back. See you later. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.